Right, so today I want to talk about the functioning alcoholic. For those of you that don't know who I am, my name is Dylan Reed. I am a professional recovery coach. I was in the middle of a divorce, hadn't seen my kids in a while. I couldn't hold a job. I was on the way to be homeless. All the things that mark off the alcoholic checklist. By the way, I was a high functioning alcoholic on the way to getting there. Since then, I've recovered. I've been sober for over 4 years, and now I'm helping you either avoid going to where I was or getting out of the hole that I had dug. So let's get into it today. So I want to talk about what makes a functioning alcoholic, a high functioning alcoholic, functional alcoholic, whatever you might want to call it, whatever society might want to call it. So I created a list of what I think we really use to put this up on a pedestal. And what I'd like to do is go through this today and then kind of like dispel the myth, like take the things that we think make us high functioning alcoholics and kind of just tear it apart so that we can demystify the concept that justifies our poor choices. So the first one that I think really kind of, it's in the name, is the concept of high performance. So this could be in school, this could be in your relationships, this could be in your job. Either way, you have high standards for yourself, at least in that area, maybe not so much in your choices like drinking, but you're excelling at work. Maybe you sell a lot, maybe you're a doctor, you're a CEO, you own a business, entrepreneur, lawyer, whatever it might be, but you're just slaying it. You're doing a great job. You're bringing in the money. Everything seems to be going just fine. But here's the question that I always have. Could you be performing better? Could you bring in more sales each month? Is that possible? Are you really getting the clients the best thing that they possibly need from you? And generally the answer is no. We know that we could perform at a higher level when we are sober. Then the next real question I have for people is, have you dropped the ball? And the answer is almost always yes. Like there's something that you could have done better at and you just didn't quite hit the mark because you drank the night before. Or for some people, you drank at lunch or whatever that might look like. But either way, like we talked, you can perform better. So the real question is, what is high performance? And my suggestion is you don't even know what it is until you have been sober for a while. The next thing that I have is social acceptance. This one is huge. And I speak for people here in the United States, I've worked with people internationally, so I know it's pretty acceptable in all over the world. But here in the US, like there are many professions where drinking at lunch is a normal thing. Like if you're in some sort of outside sales, that might be a thing that you do. You go to lunch, you bring a client out, and you're just having lunch and you're having some drinks, beer and a sandwich, whatever, beer and a burger, whatever that looks like to you. But that's a common practice. So we think that it's socially acceptable to drink. It's not a big deal. And that helps to justify the functioning alcoholic myth, right? Well, here's the thing. That comes down to comparison. So social acceptance means that the people around you are okay with it. Here's the reality. 40% of people in the US don't drink at all. Okay, so that's not so socially acceptable to that 40% of the population. In fact, most of those people, myself included, I think it's weird how much alcohol is so pervasive. It's everywhere. And it makes no sense to me in any way, shape, or form, especially considering the wanton destruction that it's caused in society. So a way to look at this is when you're looking at social acceptance, you're judging it based on the people around you. And I have a little story here that I'll share with you that made this all make sense to me. I've been middle class basically my whole entire life. My wife's a veterinarian. I do pretty well for myself. We do well for ourselves. And we're middle class. We move into a nice neighborhood here in Texas, and all of a sudden it doesn't feel so middle class because a lot of the homes around us are nicer. The people make more money. They drive nicer cars, all of that stuff. So all of a sudden, this basis of comparison looks a little different. So if it's socially acceptable to you to drink because everyone around you drinks, maybe your family's drink, all your coworkers drink, all your friends drink, it's okay. Well, here's the deal. What if you go hang out with people that don't drink? What if you spent a couple of weeks with people that just didn't drink and you tried to drink every time that they weren't drinking? It's gonna feel weird to you to the point that maybe you just don't want to drink or you don't want to spend time with those people. So just ask yourself, like, is it truly socially acceptable or is it just the waters that you found yourself in? So the third mark that I have is, so I have lack of financial, relational consequences. And I think this could just be lack of consequences in general. So I spoke already on this the trans-theoretical model, the concept of behavior change and what that looks like. Okay, so using that framework, somebody that's not experiencing any consequences currently is going to be in the contemplation stage. So they're not seeing the cons to the experience, right? They're seeing a lot of perceived benefits. So they think that they're functioning alcoholics, right? Hey, I still make a lot of money with my sales job. And yes, I drink with the people that I sell stuff to. But that's also why I'm so good at sales. Like, these are the things that we tell ourselves. So we build this big mountain of why it's okay that I drink, and we don't see any consequences to our drinking. So at that point, yes, we feel very functioning, okay? Those scales often tip for most people, get to a point where the cons start to outweigh the pros, and at that point it becomes a lot easier to move towards, behavioral change, that is to get sober. But here's the whole thing. Are there really a lack of consequences, or is it just in certain areas that we're not seeing consequences? So yeah, you're, like we spoke about earlier, high performance at work. What does your wife think about your drinking? Are you connected with your kids? Like, what consequences do you need to see in order to want to make a change in your life? And that's the question that I always have for people that I work with. So I would highly suggest that you're not high functioning at all just because you're not experiencing consequences in certain areas in life. Another thing that we see is that we have denial of health issues. So hangovers go away, everything's all right. Liver doesn't feel pain, so we don't actually know if we have anything going on there. And let's go ahead and just distill this into denial in general and throw it back into that trans-theoretical model that I spoke about before. In pre-contemplation, we're not aware of the consequences at all. We don't even think that there's anything bad going on. And for some people, that might be the case. We might go for years or decades where we're not ruining relationships. It's not really a burden financially. We're doing great at work. Everything seems to be just fine, okay? But these are not people that generally are in the functioning alcoholic category, because I just want to point this out. If you're in a functioning alcoholic category, somebody along the line called you that, or just called you an alcoholic, period. Which means someone knows something's going on that's not okay. Something has gone awry, or nobody would even say anything about your drinking. It wouldn't even be a topic of conversation, and they darn sure wouldn't be calling you a functioning alcoholic. And I think that that's something that we really need to take into consideration as we're trying to evaluate if we are a functioning alcoholic, and as I propose, is there even such a thing as a functioning alcoholic? So as far as denial is concerned, it's usually just a matter of consequences adding up until we can no longer deny that it does have some sort of social, relational, financial, or physical consequence on our body. So another one that we really use is comparison. So yeah, of course. And this is the basis of the functioning alcoholic concept, is a concept of comparison. Without using a basis of comparison to what is a non-functioning alcoholic, you do not have a functioning alcoholic. It's really that simple. So what do we use as a basis of comparison? Generally, people who are worse off than we are. And we're always going to be able to find that person. That's where this stuff becomes problematic, because it's this big sliding scale, a lot of gray area, and a slippery slope. Because most of us are comparing our drinking to the homeless guy, to the guy panhandling for money for booze, to the guy that's drinking right outside of the liquor store in a brown paper bag, to that person. We're not comparing ourselves to people that are doing better than ourselves. That doesn't work. Like, you can't justify your functional alcoholism next to the guy that's doing better in the sales department than you are that's sober. That doesn't work anymore. So we need to understand this is just like the social acceptance thing. What is it that we're looking at that gives us this permission to be an alcoholic? That's the thing we have to understand. All this stuff is permissive. It allows us to continue to make bad decisions because of this magical little word or set of words, functioning alcoholic, okay? And we need to keep that in mind. Is that a standard we really want to hold ourselves to, or lower the bar to? That's the whole thing here when it comes to this comparison, because you're comparing yourself to lower bars so that you can set the bar lower. And I just don't think it makes sense in any way, shape, or form. And the last one that I really want to talk about is rationalization. So when it comes to this is where we are rewarding ourselves for drinking. This is where we're using it as a coping mechanism, however that might work for somebody. So when we celebrate by drinking, is that healthy? I don't think so. I don't think it makes sense to celebrate by poisoning yourself. And when we use it to cope, are we really coping? Is it really doing the thing for us that we think that it does? Or is it just turning the volume down? Like, has drinking ever actually solved one of your problems? If we really dissect this, really analyze it, the answer is going to be a no. It's that simple. It's a rationalization. Doesn't mean it's real. It means that that's how we're using this experience to justify an experience that we want, a desire that we have, the desire to drink, to be a functioning alcoholic. Hey, it's okay that I drink because I'm going through a bad time. Or hey, it's okay that I drink because I'm doing this great thing. It doesn't matter what it is. It's all made up. It's wordplay to let us get away with making bad choices. It's really that simple. So today we talked about what a functioning alcoholic is and some of the just different myths that we have that justify it. Like I said, my name is Dylan Reed. If you need help, get a hold of me. I've been there before. I've been the functioning alcoholic for like a decade. I was the president of clubs. I had a 4.0 GPA. I held a job. Everything was going great until it wasn't. And I don't want you to experience that until it wasn't. Hey guys, Dylan Reed here. I get a lot of comments asking for help. If you need my help, the easiest way to get a hold of me is to send me a text, 940-242-3215. Until next time, have a great day. Thanks for tuning in.